Hello fellow brawlers, I'm KairosTime and it is time to brawl. Today we've got a very special video for you. We're going to do the best comps for all of the maps in Smash and Grab. Hope you enjoy. Thank you guys so much for jumping on today's video. This is seriously going to be an amazing video for you guys, okay? So a lot of people commented on my Brawl Stars Brawler tier list video, rightly so, that hey, their team comps actually matter a lot more than just playing with random comps, and that's absolutely true. I still think there's some credibility to the fact that all of those pros did vote on every single brawler for every single map in the entire game, especially if you're gonna be playing with randoms. That's one of the best ways that you can go. But if you do have a team and you really want to just take advantage of how different brawlers really work together, this video is for you. I sent out a survey to 12 pros over 9,000, okay? And some of these players, like, they're insane, like over 12,000 trophies in a season. I don't even know how you get that high. That's insane. They know what they're talking about, guys. So what I had them do is I had them submit their best 3 comps for each map in Smash and Grab. I also had them include optimal roles and optimal positioning for each of those brawlers because you guys asked for it. Now we're talking 12 pros, each rating 3 brawler compositions on 6 maps. I can count. That's a lot of comps, guys. There's a lot of them. And going through data, yeah, a lot of comps. That's 216 comps, guys. And we're gonna cover all of them. So grab your popcorn, sit down and relax, and just kidding, ain't nobody got time for that. So today we're gonna be covering the best compositions out of all of the data. I scoured through the information and tried to find any and every single pattern that I possibly could find to give you guys the best comps for Smash and Grab. That being said, there are obviously some comps that I'm not going to cover that can still work very well if you have the right amount of skill, but these are the best ones, guys. And if that's not enough, guys, at the end of today's video, we're going to be covering the frequency that every brawler in the game was mentioned in the best comps, as well as provide kind of like a quick and dirty tier list for the brawlers in Smash and Grab. Now, before we jump into the actual comps, it's important that we cover some brief basics in Smash and Grab and how it works out. First of all, we've got 3 main roles. The first is the gem carrier. This is the person that goes into the middle or the center of the map, and they have the primary role of grabbing gems and staying alive. This is especially important for them to be aware of both sides, the left and the right, especially when an enemy takes out one of your friendly brawlers, because once they're taken out, you know they're coming for you next. The next role is the support role, typically the brawler that ends up going over to the right side of the map, though that can vary based off of the maps and the counters that you face. Their primary role is to try and prevent enemy brawlers from flanking the center, okay? So by pushing people back, forcing them to go back and regain health, or just simply taking them out. They also have a very important dual role of assisting the middle person in trying to take out the enemy gem carrier. Lastly, we have the aggro role. This is the person that goes to the opposite side of the support. Typically it's the left side, although that does depend on the map that we're playing. Their main goal is to try and push the enemy brawler back and force them to go into a little bit more towards the center or to fall back so that they can get 2v1'd or 3v1'd and get the advantage. In addition to that, once they do have a good position, they also have the role of trying to flank the middle and trying to take out that other gem carrier. Now let's actually jump into the maps, guys. Now the best combo voted by the pros was Nita, Poco, and Spike. Typically what you want to have happen is you want Nita to kind of play more aggro on the left side, the left lane of this. She comes up here and her whole goal is to try and push enemy brawlers back here and to try and get in to this part of the map so that you can kind of control this whole area. Next you have Poco, who is the gem carrier and whose primary goal is to try and grab these gems and kind of fend off attacks from both the left side and also the right side while trying to force and dodge shots going off in the center. Lastly, we got Spike, whose whole goal is to try and play a really strong defense against these tanks. You're gonna have a lot of tanks and a lot of aggro type brawlers trying to get into this area, and it's Spike's job to try and stop that from happening. Once Spike has control of this side of the map, then Spike's whole job is to come in right here and support the middle and try and keep pushing brawlers back. If the team has really solid control of the map, then Spike can even come up right here a little bit closer and play a little bit more of an aggressive role, although he should be aware that if brawlers come into these bushes, it's time for him to fall back. Now this comp is really strong, but we're going to cover some alternates as well that you can swap in there for the different brawlers, okay? So we've got Bull, who you can try and swap off for Nita to play a little bit more aggro as well. Bull's really great in getting in there and dealing some damage. Jesse's also a lot of fun. If you are going to be playing Jesse, primary target to place your turret is going to be like right in this tile right here, unless they have a thrower. If they have a thrower, then you're going to want to put it right here and make it a little bit more difficult for them to get rid of that turret. Ricochet's also a really solid brawler to come into this side, the right side, and play that support, because he's able to push people super far back right here, and then he's also able to use this narrow little spot right there to bounce off those bullets and kind of control this whole center really well. Some other variations include El Primo or Daryl for good aggros, and then another option that actually came up quite a bit was double tank with a traditional gem carrier such as Poco or Jesse. In addition to that, Pam can also gem carry, but this typically requires a tank to go to the left and a spike to go onto the right. Another interesting thing I saw was Tara actually coming in and being able to fill either like an aggro or support, and sometimes in gem carrier if you are missing that. However, you're probably better off having a dedicated gem carrier. Now it's time for Crystal Cavern, and once again, we got Nita, Poco, Spike. Guys, this combo is so strong. As far as positioning goes, we want Nita or the aggro player to come out onto this left side right here, because it really forces that brawler to come in towards the center where they can kind of get pinched from the center person or even from the support person over on the right side of things. Poco going in the mid, very important. And then also we have Spike coming up over on this side. As far as alternates go, we've got Tara that can also go to that left and play aggro, and then Jesse that can play that center spot. Now, if you're playing Jesse, the best place for you to put your turrets is behind this block and this block, unless they have a thrower. If they have a thrower, then it's good to put it in these bushes over here, or over here, so that that turret can actually still fire off into the center without getting too close to that thrower, because that thrower is going to have to come in if they are going to try and get rid of that turret. Now, if you don't have Spike, you can actually play Nita and Tara on the left or right lane as long as they're going opposite sides. It's another important thing to realize with this map is that left and right, which one between aggro and support goes left and right, mostly depends on counters. If you got somebody being countered in the left, switch lanes with them and see if you can mix things up. Now, there is one exception to that. Ricochet can actually be played as a support brawler, but Ricochet does much better over on this left side of things because of this small area right here. He's able to come in right here and use that to bounce off shots right here. Whereas if he's over on the right side, there's more distance and he has to get really close to this section right here in order to bounce shots back over here, which is why left is best for Ricochet, and then whoever is playing aggro should go over onto the right. Pam and Bo also came up as a good solid gem carrier, but mostly when they're being played with two of Nita, Tara, and Spike. A really skilled Daryl or Bull can also come play on this left side and play a little bit of an aggro role as well. Next, we got Mushroom Cave, which is actually pretty different than the other maps. The best combo does change just a little bit here, where we've got Spike, who's playing support, that actually goes over onto the left side of things. The left side right here, he's got this perfect section right here where he can really deal a lot of damage and do really well on this left side. Jesse is a very solid person to go right into the center right there. Now, the turret is going to depend on whether the enemy has a thrower or not. If they do not have a thrower, this is the best place for Jesse's turret. If they do have a thrower, then over here is a really solid place. As the aggro, Nita's job is to go onto this right side right up over here and try and force people to come around over here so that they can then be 2v1'd. As far as alternates go, we've got Barley that can come over here, and sometimes a really skilled Mike, although Barley was voted more frequently, but he can come in right here and kind of apply that same pressure right here. He does a really great job at defending and applying pressure to that center, as well as playing just a really solid support role. Poco is really solid on this map as well, and was equally a great option when compared to Jesse going right into that center. Then we got Bull, and then Daryl and El Primo as well that can also take that aggro role and kind of come up over here. A really important part to playing Mushroom Cave is that if you are facing a thrower and you have a thrower on your team, that you make sure that your thrower is facing their thrower. This map was just built for throwers to be able to try and push people back, and you want to make sure you have that equal advantage. And even if you do have to swap sides and bring the thrower onto the right side of the map to do so, it's still definitely worth it. The cool thing with this map is that throwers can really effectively push people back all the way because of all these walls, these protective walls for them. And you can very easily spawn trap people over here if the aggro is also pushing people back here at the same time. Up next, we got Bone Box. Now, the thing about Bone Box is the pros seem to be kind of confused. The responses that I got were very different, and there were a lot of different combinations that seemed to do pretty well as far as Bone Box is concerned. Now, I was searching through the patterns, and it wasn't easy, but I found out the best combos for you guys, because you deserve it. There was one theme that really seemed to resonate between all the responses from the pros on Bone Box, and that is that they had one gem carry that went in the center, then they had one aggro that went to one side, and then one support that went onto the opposite side. Now let's let's go ahead and cover which brawlers fit into each of these roles well for this map. Now for the aggro position, we have Bull, who was mentioned 31% of the time. We got Daryl, who was mentioned 22% of the time, and then El Primo, who was mentioned 11% of the time. For the gem carrier, we've got Jesse, who was mentioned 36% of the time, Poco, who was mentioned 31% of the time, and then Pam, who was mentioned 22% of the time. Quick note about Jesse is best position to place her turret is right here, because this map is full of tanks, and that makes it really difficult for them to really handle her. But if they do have some type of a thrower or somebody that's a little bit able to do a little bit more damage, then back behind these tiles right here are other really good places for her turret. For the support role, we've got Ricochet, who was mentioned 56% of the time for all the comps. Yeah, I think you should play Ricochet. And then we also had Spike, who was mentioned 31% of the time. As far as playing this map goes, the center's role is to try and have control of this whole bone box. They need to face the other mid person and make sure that they do not actually enter in through right here. They also need to be aware of what's going on to both sides. It's really important for that center player to check both sides frequently to make sure that their team is not getting taken out, and also so that they don't get flanked as well. The aggro and the support brawlers playing on the right side or the left side had really important roles. First off, they gotta keep the enemy pushed back, okay, and visible so that we know where they are so they don't come and flank you. Second, they need to make sure that they do not make it into the sides right here, because as soon as they do, it's gonna put a lot of pressure on your center person, make it difficult for them to escape with their gems in pocket. Lastly, they really need to make sure that those enemy brawlers do not make it back here, because as soon as they make it back right here, that just gives the enemy brawler total position on that side of the map, allows them to come in here or come over here, and since you can't see where they're at, it really makes it difficult for you guys to come back from that. And next we got Temple Catacombs. Welcome back, Nita, Jesse, and Spike. Now as far as that center position is concerned, Poco is actually equally good as far as Jesse goes. It was a really close matchup between the two of those, and both Nita, Poco, Spike, and Nita, Jesse, Spike were very highly rated for this map. Now Bull did have a 19% mention rate in comparison to Nita's 64%, and Tara did have a 28% mention rate in comparison to Spike's 56%. Now guys, this map is the hardest to come back from if you lose ground. The reason why is because you've got these walls right here and these walls right here, which makes it very easy for the enemy brawlers to spawn trap you and make it so that you cannot get out of there and take control of that center again. Because of this, it's really important that you focus on not dying at almost any expense. Now the support role typically will go over onto the right to best utilize their super. Spike and Tara do a really great job coming in right here and just coming in and just wailing on people. Aggro typically wants to go left and try and make sure that they have their super saved if the team ends up actually needing somebody to rush in there, take somebody out, or something like that. An interesting thing with this map is that double aggro, mainly a Bull and a Nita, as well as a gem carrier, works really well as double support, mainly Spike and Tara, with one of the two gem carriers. Up next is Deep Hollows, which was actually very similar to Bone Box in the fact that there were a lot of different responses from the pros, and so we're going to be taking a look at this map similar to the way that we did in that map. Now the difference between Deep Hollows and Bone Box is the importance of having a thrower. Okay, so for the left, you actually want to have a thrower, either Barley or Dynamite. Barley was mentioned 42% of the time, and Dynamite was mentioned for 22% of the time. It's very important that if you are playing Dynamite, that you've got some skill and you know how to land those hits with Dynamite. Otherwise, you're probably better off going with Barley. Now, if you're playing a thrower, you typically want to go to the left side of things. And the reason why is because this wall allows for some extra protection, so you can apply pressure to the center as well as try and push people back. Once you do have that control right here, it's going to be very difficult for them to try and get into that middle there. For gem carriers, we've got Poco, who was mentioned 44% of the time, Pam, who was mentioned 28% of the time, and then Jesse, who was mentioned 22% of the time. As far as playing the center, it's pretty self-explanatory. You just want to go into the center area, right? That's why you're playing center. Carry those gems, don't die, try and avoid those thrower shots, and you should be good. As far as who you add into the brawler mix last, actually kind of depends. You can go the support way, have extra added support by playing Spike over on this right, or you can also have an aggro brawler. Spike was just mentioned 44% of the time, Nita was mentioned 28% of the time, and Tara was mentioned 25% of the time. Coming over right, if you're going to be playing this support or aggro role, then you want to try and push people back right here, and this is a really great position for Spike to throw in those shots shots and deal damage to whoever is in here, as well as whoever tries to come and hide in these bushes over here. Now I mentioned that throwers should typically go over onto the left, but it's very important that you play thrower v thrower on this map. If the enemy team is playing a thrower, it doesn't matter if they go over onto the right side. You want to make sure you're going and facing that thrower, because throwers, they are really difficult to deal with if you're not a thrower yourself, and you don't want your teammates getting pushed back, because that's going to give them control and then they're going to come take you out. Okay guys, those were the 6 smash and grab maps. Hope you like that, but don't leave, because we still got some amazing content here for you. The brawler tiers, okay guys? So basically what I did is I took a look at the frequency of every single brawler and how often they were mentioned in one of the best 3 comps for each of the given maps. Then I created tiers strictly based off of statistical order, which basically just means that these tiers refer to how many solid comps there are for a given brawler in smash and grab. We're gonna go ahead and start off with the F tier, guys. This is the tier where there are hardly any good comps, and you probably should not play these brawlers with them in smash and grab, especially if you're playing with randoms. Just save your trophies. Ranging from 0% mention rate to 3% mention rate, we've got Colt, Brock, Piper, and Mortis, with Piper and Mortis both having 0 mentions the entire time. If you want to play Brock, Piper, or Mortis, you can play them in Bounty, and Mortis is actually also really good in Brawl Ball. If you want to play Colt, the best places for him are in Showdown or Heist. Up next is the C tier. These are brawlers that you can use in some very specific comps, but it's highly map specific. You gotta be careful about what you're doing with them. We've got Bo with a 7% mention rate, Crow with 6, and Dynamite as well, and then Shelly with a 5% mention rate. Bo and Crow are really great on Bounty, Shelly is really good on Brawl Ball, and then Dynamite is really good on Heist and Showdown. Up next we have the B tier. These are brawlers that do require a specific composition and usually require that you're playing with some of the S tier brawlers, but they can work very well on some of these smash and grab maps. We got Pam, who's a decent gem carrier with the right support and aggro. Then we have El Primo and Daryl, who are really good aggros when they have the right support and gem carrier. And then lastly we have Barley, who is good on those specific thrower maps that I mentioned previously. Next is the A tier, where there are actually a lot of good comps that you can do with them. We got Bull, who's a really good aggro, Tara, who's a pretty good aggro and kind of also a pretty good support when she needs to switch between those roles, and Ricochet, who's an amazing support on the right types of maps. Lastly guys, we've got the S tier. You probably already know who they are. They're so OP in smash and grab and dominate on almost every smash and grab map that there is. We got Spike, mentioned in 51% of all of the comps, guys. That's insane. We also have Nita, who was mentioned 40% of the comps, and then we have Poco and Jesse, usually the 2 of them, one or the other of them, 39 and 34%. That's absolutely insane. These are your best smash and grab brawlers by far. Guys, I wanted to give a huge thank you to the pro players that helped me out with this. I could not have done it without them, and you guys gotta thank them as well, because seriously, this information is insane. It's crazy. So make sure you go ahead and follow them on Twitter and YouTube at the links that are linked in the description below. And if you're a pro player that's over 9,000 trophies, please contact me in some way if you would like to help out with these types of videos, because I need your help and I need it, and please contact me. I need your help. Thanks once again to Eric EX, Leviathan, Raiden, Probert, Real Canadian, BaheMoth, Toma, Jeff, Trevor DW, Tøxic, ItstheUDAY, and SlayerNA from Nova Esports, Unity, the Ad Bands, SOAW, Dark Warriors, and NA Elite. You guys are the real MVPs. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is KairosTime ticking by, and we will see you in the arena.